I'm gonna finish these TED Talks when I get home. You know what black women do better than black men? Code switch. Code switch. Y'all know what code switching is, you know, right? I like how one woman put it, putting on your fake white Becky. But I don't even think this is about code switching. So anyway, one of the colleagues of mine, he's country. He's from the South. And yeah, I'll just call him a colleague. I'll leave it at that. That just makes it easier. But anyway, his English, I had to say something to him about his English and when he's interacting with patients. And I don't know if he took it the right way, the wrong way. I mean, he definitely thought about it, you know, but we kind of went back and forth a little bit about whether I'm coming at him or not. But it was a constructive criticism about his English, because I've caught him on a couple of occasions saying things like, we was. Like, no, we were. You know, and especially talking to patients, many of them being white. You know, I'm like, you got to clean that up, man. You already at a disadvantage being a black man, and, you know, just the whole way, you know, that you're, you know, being perceived. You gotta clean that up. I caught him up doing other things, like saying things like, don't nobody, you know, double negatives, things like that. I mean, that's just two. But, you know, that whole, you know, we was, like, no, we were. Like, it's like the scratching of a chalkboard. To me, at least. You know, my mother was always big on, you know, proper English. And if you don't use proper English, people are going to think that you're dumb. And I'm saying, you all know when I make my videos, I don't always use proper English. I get comfortable and, you know, say things like, I don't know, like the way that black people love to use be. I'd be like, that's not proper English, right? But you got to know how to speak. I've also had this issue with many of the, you know, Caribbean blacks, especially Jamaicans. You know, where, you know, they have their own dialect and their own lingo, and, you know, saying things like Mino Tinks, you know, that's not proper English. That's not just an accent. It's not grammatically correct. You know, and a lot of black people, they don't like hearing this because, you know, they feel like, you know, you're coming at them and everything else like that. And I'm like, look, it goes beyond that. It goes beyond you thinking that I'm coming at you. Because the problem is when you're in a professional setting and you got all these, I just made the video talking about the superiority complex of Indians and Asians and white folks. They think that you're dumb. They think that you're going to be dumb. They think that you don't know what you're doing. And if you haven't mastered the English language, if you haven't mastered proper grammar, you know, then, you know, that's going to work against you. Right? I mean, even myself, I code switch like all hell. You know, I will be Poindexter. Granted, it's a little bit easier for me because I grew up in a predominantly white suburb. Right? I know how to, y'all hear all the voice impressions I do and everything. I know how to, you know, make my voice go higher, make my voice go lower, change tone, intonations, inflections. I can do it all. But some people can't. And what I've recognized is a lot of country black folks, or black folks that come from the country, they struggle with this. And I think it's in large part, you know, you got these ideas about keeping it real and, you know, I need to be my genuine self and everything. And the thing is the part that gets me is all these people that always talk about genuine self, They can't code switch. Like when I'm code switching, right? I know that I'm not being my true and authentic self, but I'm saying I can do it. There's a difference between being able to code switch and arguing that you don't want to code switch versus being incapable of code switching because that's just how you talk. And there's a lot of black folks from both the Caribbean, like nobody particularly minds an accent. An accent is not what's going to, get you caught up. Accents are fine. Not knowing the language is going to be a problem, but when you do know the language and you're grammatically incorrect, like if you have a foreign accent, you'll get a pass. But if you're, black and you're from the South and you're grammatically incorrect, people are going to look at you like you're a country bumpkin. People are going to look at you like you don't know what you're talking about. People are going to look at you like you don't know your profession, because how can they be, how can they perform well, not good, well, at their profession if they haven't mastered the English language, right? This is, people can say what they want. They can talk about different regions, different dialects, colloquial phrases, this, that, and the third. They can talk about all that all they want. English is your first language. English is your only language. You need to master it. You need to master it. The craziest thing is like some of the people that have the most extensive vocabularies in the black community are rappers. That's the irony. Because how can you be a good rapper if you don't have mastery of the English language or words that rhyme and stuff like that? Even though we can argue that Kodak Black still is going to go up there and sound like Kodak Black, right? Or many other rappers. So maybe that's not the best example. But I'm just saying, they have a, more than the average person, they tend to have a greater grasp of having a greater vocabulary, right? I don't think that anybody would say that Nas has a limited vocabulary or Jay-Z has a limited vocabulary. Maybe those would be better examples. But again, look what I just compared, like Kodak Black versus Jay-Z, Nas, who grew up in the city. One of the conversations that we had was about, the way that city folks look down on country folks. We had a conversation about that. And I remember, a few weeks ago, the brother told me that, he said that it wasn't until he had moved to the north that he realized like how far behind he was, because he was totally thrown off by the fact that, you got guys that are like 25 that are like almost like millionaires. I don't think he meant that literally, but his whole point is that the people that grow up in, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Chicago, people who grow up in these major metropolitan areas, they have a different mentality. Their mentality is a hustle mentality, to, work your 9 to 5, if you have a 9 to 5, and then have some other streams of income, side hustle, stuff like that. And he was saying that him growing up in the deep South, that mentality just didn't exist. Now, maybe I could have some Southern blacks come in the comment section and break this one down for me. But I mean, you're more than welcome to give your commentary or write your comment, and I will, seriously take it into consideration. But, I feel like I already have the answer. And the answer is that black people who grow up in the city are exposed to other groups. And it's a very fast-paced environment. And so you have to adapt, quickly. You may have to code switch, in order to interact and deal with other groups if you're trying to get something from other groups. But there's also black folks from the ghetto that are unable to code switch. But I was just bringing up the point to the brother. I said, look, people, they're not going to say it to your face, but they're dinging you every time you make a slip up like that. They're saying to themselves, oh, here's this black guy. He don't know what he's doing. Right? That's what they're saying to themselves. Because you don't have mastery of the language. Now, again, if you're dealing and interacting with, I don't know, Southern patients, then maybe they're not going to mind. It's not going to be, they're from the same area. If you're in a predominantly black area, they may not mind. But you get around non-black people, or you get around black people who are educated, who live in major metropolitan areas,
45 miles per hour.
And it's going to be like, you're going to be judged. And his whole attitude, at least initially when we started the conversation, was, well, I don't care what other people think as long as I'm doing my job. Okay, that's fine, but that's the wrong way to think about it, in my opinion. It's totally the wrong way to think, because I'm like, where do you see any buildings with our last names on it? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't like you like, in other words, you're not in the position to talk about what you feel doesn't matter, or how other people perceiving you doesn't matter. If you want to feel that way, then you need to get yourself in a position of power. You look at the hospitals and the institutions. What names do they have on these buildings? Jewish names: Goldstein, Goldberg, Goldstein. You know what I'm saying? There's no, oh, where are you going? Oh, we're going to the Jacobs Hospital. There's no, we're going to the Marcus Garvey Hospital. Like, there's no Garvey Hospital. You know what I mean? That's backed by black dollars and black philanthropists and all that stuff. That's how other communities get down. And so, like, I'm like, you already recognize you're a token in this space. Sorry, but unfortunately, you're going to have to care about what other people think. Not to mention the fact that, it don't even matter what level you're at. Whether you're MD, DO, PA, nurse practitioner, nurse, it doesn't matter what level you're at. There's a snobbery, there's a pretentiousness about healthcare and healthcare professionals. It's a pretentiousness where you represent the group, you represent the cohort. If I were to give this brother a PowerPoint to present, and the way that he speaks and the way that he makes those sort of grammatical errors, like we was chillin', and or don't nobody, like when he does those things and double negatives and all that stuff, the intelligent, educated people in the room, they ding you. It's hard for them to take you seriously. It's better to be the articulate black man. It's better to be that than to be the one that they don't want to give a speech, that they don't want to put in front of the camera, because you can't speak properly. You can't speak like at the very least, like if you're supposed to have you're supposed to be a master of the sciences. So therefore, you also are expected by default to be a master of the English language. You know who I envy? You know who I think is a great orator? And I know he writes all his stuff. Thugtician. I would trade the way that I speak for the way that Thugtician writes and speaks in a heartbeat. Now, granted, to Americans, British accents always sound so much more sophisticated. I don't know why, but they just do. They always sound so much more sophisticated. Doesn't take much. You could be, I can kind of hear when somebody's from the streets from the UK, but all of y'all sound like y'all came out of Hogwarts or something. Like all y'all sound like you just like you went to private school. Like you can't come from the UK and not sound like you went to private school. It's impossible for us when we hear you. It's impossible. But man, like it's just like I don't know that, like I feel like they, like almost every British person I've ever met, every black Brit, they're the way that they speak, even the way that they present arguments, it's always in this calm, monotone, sort of like Patrick Moynihan type of way, or even William F. Buckley. It's very calm and very, I'm so unbothered, right? That's how British people come off when they debate and they argue. I don't know. I think it's sophisticated. And that's the word that I'm looking for. Sophisticated. When you're grammatical, when you are grammatically incorrect. And I think, notice so far in this entire video, I haven't said, you know what I mean? Which I typically say when I get comfortable. Like, again, it's perfectly fine to talk that way when you're just chilling and you're talking to your people and all that. But when you are expressing yourself to others that already have a negative perception of you, the inappropriate response is to say, well, I don't care what they think. That's the wrong approach. You have to care. You know what I mean? I don't understand. Like, it's like, you do everything. Like, in other words, I want to see this brother put the same energy that he puts into making sure all of his information is right about a particular patient. I want him to put the same amount of energy that he puts into the science that he puts into language, or puts in the language that he puts into his sciences. I'm like, nah, dude, like you gotta have the same energy. Where did the energy go? So you're gonna get all this right, but then you're gonna half-ass on this. And again, like a lot of this stuff is about presentation. It's about people, you giving people a sense of confidence in your abilities. And a lot of it has to do with the way that you present yourself, the way that you speak, the way that you come off confidently when you speak. You don't stutter, you don't hesitate, right? Like these are the things that you gotta have down if you want people to take you seriously. And it frustrates me whenever I see black men that they haven't corrected that part of themselves. I'm like, you're at a different level, my dude. You're at a completely different level. This is not done. This is not done. I mean, have I belabored the point? Have I really like driven this point home enough? Am I saying too much? Am I going too far in expressing the way that I feel about all of this? It pains me, to see this and hear this. The first couple times it happened, I let it slide. I'm like, oh, he's bullshitting, like, he's developing a rapport, right? Making the patient feel comfortable, whatever, right? That's what I'm thinking. But then, I'm in the room again and I hear it again and I'm like, you need to clean that up, man. You need to clean that up. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to really say about it. I mean, what I did was I actually sent him a bunch of videos One was a TED Talk by a black woman about code switching and the cost of not code switching. I'll see if I can put the link in the description box. But there was a number of videos about black speech and, you know, all that stuff. And like I said, he got real defensive. He got defensive about what I said. I'm like, look, I'm not coming at you. I'm looking out for your best interest. But keep in mind that what you do also reflects on the rest of us. You know, like I can't have a black person walking around and you know, you haven't fixed your language. Because if you think people aren't talking about you, they are talking about you. And it will limit you in ways that you may not even discover. Language is like I don't want to get too poetic, but language is like, you know, that is like the gateway to many different avenues. You should be an excellent communicator. An excellent communicator. You can't be garbling your words up, right? Is that even a word? Right? You can't, you ever get people that don't, you know, they don't enunciate their words. They're not crystal clear when they speak. I remember I was watching some documentary about Frank Sinatra and why Frank Sinatra was such a great singer. And it had a lot to do with the fact that, you know, I mean, when you listen to Frank Sinatra's song, every word he sings is crystal clear, and he's singing it. He's singing it. Versus Young Thug, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I think Young Thug is kind of a musical genius in terms of his inflections in his song and the way he whines and stuff like that. Like he, you know, uses his voice like it's like he's B.B. King on a guitar. That's cool. But when you're in conversation and you up there sounding like Future, y'all listen to Future? You ever hear a Future interview? Oh my God! I mean, it's like, what did he just say? But like I said, I mean, I don't even have to go as far as Future. This is just about simple grammar. And I don't know, maybe it's because, you know, my mother was always on my case about it as a child, as a black child. And my mother was on me about that. You know, and like I said, I don't really see this problem with black women. Like they know how to code switch. They put on that fake Becky real quick. I mean, they'll have the little high octaves that they're like the sounding like the people at Chick-fil-A. Hi, how are you today? You know, like you know, my pleasure. You know, like they know how to code switch. Notice you've never heard a black person working at Chick-fil-A who can't speak. They filter them right the hell out. You will never get, you know, a Bonquisha working at Chick-fil-A. She ain't gonna make the interview. Plain and simple. What are you gonna do? Call it speech discrimination? They didn't hire me because I couldn't speak properly. That they didn't hire me because I used Ebonics. You know, that's speech discrimination. Is that what people are going to complain about? I'm just saying, you know, at the end of the day, you know, people need to, I mean, I'm telling y'all, I'm begging y'all to take this seriously, right? I haven't even used profanity in this video yet. But I'm saying, y'all need to take this seriously. I don't care whether you're in healthcare. I don't care whether you're in corporate America. I don't care what it is that you're doing. You know, however you want to talk to your own people, your family members, your homies on the block, do that. But when you get into a professional setting, you cannot be in there using double negatives and even using words like ain't. Ain't needs to be removed from your vocabulary. There's no such thing as ain't. You know what I mean? And then again, the double negative, ain't nobody, like, get rid of that word. Stop using that word. I don't even like contractions. You know, like I prefer do not as opposed to don't. And I'm saying even when it comes to writing, and I said to the brother, I said, look, like, you know, when you were applying to universities and whatnot, and you had to make personal statements, you had to write out personal statements. The way that you comfortably talk, I'm pretty sure if I read your personal statements, that's not what those two things wouldn't correlate. That's not what you would sound like. And I mean, he feels some type of way about, you know, sounding like Poindexter. He feels some type of way about, you know, not being his genuine self. I'm like, man, it ain't about keeping it real in a professional setting. It's about being professional and being taken seriously. Everybody has to do this. Even white people have to do this. This is not a racial thing. I get the idea, that you feel that it's a racial thing, and I can kind of see where somebody would come from on that. But here's my thing. Here's my whole problem, with that. Why do black people talk the way that black people talk? Black people talk the way that black people talk, not because we were just simply being creative. We talk the way that we talk because we were denied an education as a people. Again, going back to what I used to always say about the culture that everybody wants to embrace so much is a byproduct of prolonged exposure to poverty. If the black community was never in poverty, if there was never systemic racism, then a lot of the things that black people embrace and cherish right now, culturally speaking, about black people that they think is quote unquote black culture, wouldn't exist. All the rap battles about who's struggling more than the next man, that wouldn't exist if we grew up in the suburbs and everybody had, a garage. Hell, we'd still all be playing instruments. It'd be like Motown or something like that. There would be, people would hear somebody rapping or singing about murder and mayhem and violence, and they would be like, "What are you talking about? Why are you so negative?" That's what people would be saying. But because we're in poverty and we're in negative environments, right? Art imitates life. But if you fix that whole scenario, it wouldn't be like that. So what black people now believe is comfortable black speech is you got to look at the origins of it. Okay, your people, we were enslaved, put on plantations, not allowed to read because massa was too afraid of slaves communicating with one another. And then we went to these lousy schools, right? That were so lousy that, Brown versus Board of Education happened to integrate the schools. And then even after that, black people were, disproportionately denied entry into these universities. And then white people went off and created private schools and all that stuff. And so I get why black people feel some type of way. And their attitude is, well, who are they to be equal to? I totally get it. I'm not, please don't think I don't understand that statement or that mentality. I do. But that's not going to get you anywhere. It's not. As I said before, we are a what? Conquered people, unfortunately. And the goal right now should be to get to that next level. That should be the goal right now, to get to that next level. Get your money, get your paper, establish yourself, pass the knowledge on. I was talking to a woman the other day, and she was talking about how I had to sign for something, and I just made a comment saying, I can't believe they're not teaching cursive in schools anymore. And then she went and said, my mother taught me how to write in cursive, and I'm teaching my kids how to write cursive. So there's people that are still keeping it going outside of the school system, since the school has no longer taken it upon themselves to be a responsibility for them to, teach kids how to write cursive. Just think about, we got black people that grew up in poverty. Their parents aren't educated. Their parents don't have the best vocabulary or speech patterns. And then on top of that, they don't know how to write cursive. Then on top of that, since their parents probably can't afford a keyboard, they don't know how to type with the home keys. So they're sitting there pecking. That's another issue I have with a lot of black folks, is pecking on computers and not learning how to type. It's cool when the Indians and the Asians and the other people, the white folks, when they know how to do it. You know what I do in the back of my mind? I laugh. Oh, and I love when I'm sitting there and I'm typing away, and then they're talking to me and I look up at them and I'm still typing. Oh, I love it. And I see their eyes go from my face and then go down and then back up to my face. Yeah, I can type without looking at the keyboard and listen to what you're telling me at the same time and still finish my thought on the keyboard. And then they're the ones sitting there feeling some type of way. And then when they get on the keyboard, peck, 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 peck. These things are important. I don't know. What frustrates me are black people who, because we're like so many generations deep in nobody really knowing how to, do these things or correct these things. As a result, we try to convince ourselves that they're not important, and they are important. Speaking is a skill. Writing is a skill. Typing is a skill. Master it. And I don't, I can't, I don't want to just keep going on and on, making these points. But seriously speaking, like, I have to say, what is this person doing? Anyway, I have to say, I lost my train of thought. I completely lost my train of thought. I can't emphasize the importance of this, and especially, again, I don't care whether you're a black woman or you're a black man. If you're in a professional setting, you know what I'm saying? You are a reflection of me, and I am a reflection of you. And again, if I got my pants down, if I'm doing something wrong, let me know. I had somebody not too long ago. They told me that when I sit, sometimes I slouch. And it makes me look like I either don't care or I'm not engaged, or and I was like, okay, I need to, and that's not the first time I've heard it. Even with this brother, he said that, he had a ex-girlfriend or something, and she said something, and I'm like, so she said something and I'm saying something. So obviously it's a problem, right? Right. It's just like if there's a patient and multiple physicians have told the patient, you need to stop smoking, or you need to, deal with your diabetes, or, that you're overweight, but they think they're going to get a different opinion. They go to somebody else and they're morbidly obese and their BMI is like well over 35. You see? So I'm just, I get that people are going to be defensive about this, but it seems like every time we try to establish a standard in the black community, it always gets dismissed with, that's Eurocentric, or B, we should be able to do our own thing. And, I'm like, you're not going to get anywhere. Like once you get to a point, you want to talk about like the ultimate tool of white supremacy. The ultimate tool of white supremacy is when the inferiority of black people and black people not achieving spins on its own access. And how that is done is where everything that black people should be doing, somehow it turns into, that's us acting like them, or that's a bad thing, and that's Eurocentric or whatever, and we're over here doing our own thing. You have to understand that where black people are right now is a direct result of black people being deprived. This is not where we're supposed to be. So stop embracing it. Stop embracing your grammatically incorrect English. Stop embracing that. I'm just going to talk how I want to talk. Yeah, and people are looking at you like you're a dumbass. Or again, if you're interacting and dealing with people that are from, the city and they're educated, they're going to look at you like you're a country bumpkin. And then it's just going to reinforce negative stereotypes of what they already believe about people from the countryside. Again, an accent is not a problem. Being a Southern belle is not a problem. Saying what you about fitting to do or fixing to do, that's not a problem. Okay, we can kind of say, okay, that's the word that they use over here. Just like, on the East Coast, what do we call, a sandwich that's long? We call it a hoagie. What do y'all call it out there in the Midwest? A sub. We say soda, y'all say pop. That's not a big deal. But when you get into like the basic grammatical English, you got to be careful about what you're saying and how you're saying it. You cannot just brush it off. And there's nothing. And I'm trying to. I told the brother. I said, look, man. I'm like, you don't have to take what I say, but if you don't, somebody's gonna say something to you one day, and you're gonna feel some type of way. And there's nothing worse than a foreigner with their broken English correcting you about your English, and they speak 2 languages, and you only speak 1. So, anyway, that's all I got to say. I hope that was positive for you people who think that I'm nothing but a negative Nancy. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That's a whole different topic, but I don't understand the people that always want to be positive about everything. And we have all these type of problems that need to be addressed. And being positive isn't addressing the problem, because you're so positive that you want to ignore the reality that these problems even exist. So even bringing them up, you say, oh, that's negative because you brought up an identifiable problem. You're being negative. Oh, so what are you supposed to do? Ignore the identifiable problems? Like I said, this isn't even, directed, at this brother, which, he probably will never hear this video. But I'm saying, this is it, he's just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. This is a issue that I've seen over and over again. And like I said, it's not really a black woman problem. When black women get up in corporate, they know what they got to do. They put on their fake Becky. They get to smiling. Only time that they're not, and this is when they're specifically hired for that position, is when they are the secretary of the CEO. They always make sure that they go and they get, a woman that's going to act like a bitch. because she's the gatekeeper. They get the nastiest attitudinal, confrontational woman that they can get because they don't want to be bothered. So they get the gatekeeper that, you know, that has that type of personality. They're not going to get let me see if I can get him for you. They don't want that woman. They want the one that's like, he busy. You know what I'm saying? So that's who they go for. You know, they want Shaquay for the secretary. He busy. Can I help you? Because that's the one that's going to make sure that they're not bothered. But in all other settings, nah, you know, I mean, you know, and again, I've seen it all, you know, other women, they want to try sisters and everything, and they are using every fiber in their body not to snatch that bitch's ponytail, you know. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But that's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out.